What is going on, all you Pokemon collect maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPapa, and here we are looking at what has to be one of the coolest data sets that we have here on this channel. And this is information straight from TCG Player. You know how much I love that. And what this is these are the 10 single cards that exchanged hands the most on their platform last month. I love macro information. I love getting information straight from sources like TCG Player and eBay. Helps us keep a finger on the pulse of what's going on at a high level in the market. And that is what this video is all about. However, as only we do here on the PikaPikaPapa channel, we take this to a couple different extremes. So of course, we're gonna look at the cards, we're gonna see where they ranked, we're gonna look at their price graph over however long we have, either a year, 6 months, 3 months, depending on when the card came out. But we're also gonna do two other things. We're gonna have a graph to the left, which is going to show either the booster box that it comes out of, or the Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box that it came out of, if it's from one of the specialty sets. I also have this little star system right here, and that's going to signify how many months in a row a card has been on this list, because I think it's really important for us to understand how long these cards have been in high demand. Now, some of the cards that are in, say, number 10 through 8 or 7, right? You're not going to see a lot of gold stars because those tend to flip pretty frequently, but some of the cards that are in the top 5 of this list have been on this list multiple months in a row, which just goes to show you that the overall interest in these cards is not waning. The interest is there, people are fired up about it, and they have been exchanging hands a ton over the last couple months. Now, with all of that being said, we have been doing this video series for a long time. It is absolutely awesome, and we love doing video series in succession here on the PikaPikaPapa channel. We think that we can level up our insights, we can level up our collecting and investing skills by doing videos like this time after time after time. So if that kind of stuff excites you, as I said, we do this every month. We do a ton of videos in regular cadence. So if that gets you fired up, hit that subscribe button. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. And if you have questions or comments, drop them down below. We do a ton of work here on the PikaPikaPapa channel, and those 3 little things go a long way in helping us out. So before we get into what's on the list, every single time I do this, I start off with what has fallen off the list, because to me, what's on it is just as important as what has fallen off. Now, what's really cool about this list and how it has evolved over the last 4 or 5 months is that instead of just giving us a list of 10 cards, TCG Player actually gives us a list of like the top 50 cards that have exchanged hands the most. I specifically highlight the top 10. However, now we have the ability to see these 5 cards that were on the top 10 list last month have fallen off this month, but I can actually tell you how far down they've fallen. For example, you get the Blood Moon Ursaluna. Last month, that was ranked number 10 in terms of cards that exchanged hands the most on TCG Player. This month, it's not even in the top 50. It has completely fallen off, which is fascinating. Now, I love the artwork on this card. I think the card is super cool. I think it's flying under the radar a little bit, but it is out of the top 50. Same thing with that Gardevoir right there. That was number 3 last month. The number 3 card that exchanged hands the most on TCG Player isn't even in the top 50 this month. Again, a really fascinating turn of events. Now, the Magikarp from Paldean Evolved, everybody knows this card. It's got all kinds of excitement in the hobby, super hard to grade, super expensive from a raw card perspective. Last month, it was at number 7. This month, it doesn't crack the top 10, but it's in at number 11. So it is a very close honorable mention here in our top 10 list. The next one, the Perrin card right there. Last month that was number 8. Now it has dropped to number 14. And then the Iron Crown EX. I love that card. I think the artwork is absolutely stunning. Another card that I think has a very bright long-term future. Maybe not in the next 6, 12, 18 months, but I think the artwork on this card has really, really special vibes to it. And I think it's got a bright future. So last month it was coming in at number 9. This month it's fallen not too far. It has fallen to number 12. So now that we got the cards that are off the list out of the way, let's start talking about the ones that actually made it on. Now, Iron Crown falls off, and guess what? Raging Bolt comes back on. Another cool card with some really cool art to it. You know, the question is going to be, can Raging Bolt, can the name, can that carry value further on down the road? Again, when we're talking 3, 5, 10 years down the road, is this card going to be able to carry that kind of value? Who knows? That is yet to be determined, but what I can tell you is people sure are fired up about it right now, because this is an $80 card. Now, I know that this has some serious playability going on right now, which has really helped accelerate that price from the $50 mark, you know, a couple months ago, all the way up, hit as high as $100, and now it's at the $80 mark right now. But again, this card, I think, even besides playability, I think the artwork is really, really cool. And as you can see on the left, the Temporal Forces booster boxes, you know, they've been all over the place as well. It got all the way up to like $110, $115. Now it's dropped back down right around the $100 range. So where that goes in the future, it'll be really fascinating. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Iron Crown and Raging Bolt do, because that will, I think, in turn help drive the booster box price up a little bit. Now, next card we're looking at, number 9, Twilight Masquerade. Now, Twilight Masquerade has come out with its hair on fire. It has absolutely come out much, much hotter than I originally anticipated, and this Carmine card is one of the big reasons for it. Coming in at number 9. Now, this card has gone through a little bit of the Pokemon pop and flop, right? Like, it came out, went all the way up to 120 bucks, then it tried to get some traction at 110, and now it's down to 95, and it looks like it's starting to flatten out a little bit, so we might have found at least a temporary support line there at the $95 mark. Twilight Masquerade is still way too new to understand what this card is going to look like long term, but again, if it starts to flatten out at the $95 mark, we've seen some of these Scarlet and Violet cards find their support line much earlier in the life cycle than what we saw in maybe Sword and Shield or even Sun and Moon, so it'll be interesting to see what this card does. And the Twilight Masquerade booster boxes, I mean, you can look on the left, that is already $120 per booster box. Now, I will admit the booster box prices are starting to work their way down just a little bit, so I'm really hoping it ends up in the 110 range or maybe even a couple bucks below that, because I think that'd be a great opportunity to pick up a whole case of Twilight Masquerade, but we shall see. This card certainly is a stunner, coming in at number 9, and I'll be fascinated to see if it can hold that $95 mark into the future. Next one right here, my favorite card from Crown Zenith, this Mewtwo VSTAR from Crown Zenith. Even in my pre-release videos on Crown Zenith, I had said how much I absolutely love this card. So I love seeing this thing come in at number 8. And if you remember the video from last month, this one wasn't on the list, but it had fallen off from the previous month. So we have mentioned this card 3 months in a row. So there's a ton of excitement around it. Now, I do have some hesitation for Crown Zenith. It seems like Crown Zenith is one of the sets that they won't stop printing. They won't stop releasing new products for. So what is that going to do to the long-term value? We'll just have to wait and see. But you can see this card spiked all the way up to the $70 price point, and it has been working its way back down ever since, settling back in at the $55 mark, which is really pretty close to directionally flat from where it started the year off with. So Crown Zenith is going to have to disappear at some point, right? I mean, we're still talking about a Sword and Shield set here, so we'll have to see when it finally starts to, totally flush out of the market where this card is going to be. But if you remember, when we looked at the alt art investment videos that we did, I don't know, it was like a week ago at this point, we saw that this card already has 8,000 in a PSA 10 holder. So how much will the market be able to support? We'll just have to wait to see, but at least for right now, people are buying this with a high degree of velocity. So coming in at number 7 right here, we've got the Charizard from Celebrations. Now, every single Sunday, we do a video on this channel where we look at the cards from TCG Player that have been moving with the most velocity. Like, we have this monthly video where we look at all of the top cards over a monthly view and how they've been moving. But this card, from a weekly perspective, was on the list a couple weeks ago. So there seems to be a lot of excitement around this Charizard from Celebrations. Now, it hasn't resulted in a really strong price point. As you can see right there, it is down about 6.5% from where it started the year off at $75. This is another card too, again, from that PSA total population report when we looked at some of the big cards from the Sword and Shield block a week ago. I mean, this card has about 20,000 copies in a PSA 10 holder. So, PSA 10 population isn't the end-all be-all when it comes to this, but when I'm thinking about how is this raw card going to appreciate in value over time, when there's 20,000 of these in PSA 10 holders, it makes me scratch my head a little bit. But that is why I love getting information straight from TCG Player, because guess what? It is what it is. It's not my thoughts or my opinions. This is exactly what they're saying. And no matter what I think, guess what? This was the number 7 card in terms of exchanging hands the most on TCG Player last month. Now, I do want to call out on the left-hand side the sealed product. So that $100 price point right there, that is for the Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box, right? Celebrations did have a Pokemon Center exclusive variant, and that's the price. And you'll see that it's been working its way down. It started the year off at $120, and now it is all the way down to $100. Well, I also wanted to look at the Ultra Premium Collection box. It's been following the exact same trend. So it started off at about $400, and man, it is all the way down to $340. It has dropped a decent amount over the last year. It might get to a point where some of these sealed products are oversold. I'm not saying to do it yet. I'm not saying now's the time to pull the trigger on these Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs or to pull the trigger on these Ultra Premium collections. But when you think about the Celebrations Ultra Premium collection, it was not printed in the same supply as, say, a Charizard UPC or especially the Mewtwo Mew UPC from 151, like they just were totally different print runs. Celebrations has those gold cards in it. Like, I don't know. There's a lot to be said for this. As I watch this graph and how that Ultra Premium Collection box moves over time, I don't know. I can't imagine it breaking below $300. If it gets below $300, I think it's a buy, no questions asked. But just something I wanted to call out while we're talking about this Celebrations card, Charizard right here. Coming in at number 6, this was actually featured in a video yesterday when, again, we were looking at the movers and shakers over the last week, and this was one of them. And one of the things we called out about this card is it has really found its support line early on in its life cycle, right? When we look at the Sword and Shield era cards, I mean, they went through this Pokemon pop and flop for really the first year to 18 months was what we saw, except for those rarities like in the Evolving Skies space with the Moonbreon. That thing took off like crazy. But this card right here found its support line super early, right at the $50 mark, and you can see our first example there with those 2 gold stars of a card that has been on here 2 months in a row. So super interesting to see that there is a ton of excitement around Roaring Moon. This card is selling with high velocity, like it's found a really good support line. What does that mean for the future? It'll be really fascinating to watch and see if once it starts to, I don't know, hit the 2-year mark, 2.5-year mark, will it break up above that? Will it be able to hold $50 over the course of time? I don't know, but that's one of the reasons we do these videos, so we can keep an eye on this data and see what might happen. Now, the next card we're getting into the top 5. A card that's been on here 3 months in a row. A card from Paldean Fates, which in my mind has started to be a very, very sneaky, solid play here in the Pokemon space, is this Charizard EX. And another card that found that support line incredibly early on in the life cycle, and it has just held on. I am not going to lie to you. When I saw it drop from the 150 mark all the way down to the $100 point, I was like, how low is low? We saw the big Charizards from Obsidian Flames absolutely get demolished in terms of price, and I thought this might be version 2 of that, but however, it found its footing. It has been in the 110 mark, I don't know, for like the last 5 months now, which is exceptionally awesome when I'm thinking about what the long-term prospects of this card might be. Now, again, you see the 3 stars there. It has been on this list 3 months in a row. So even though it has been exchanging hands a ton, even though a lot of people have been buying and selling this card, it has still been able to maintain that $110 price point. That is very important, and I think that is going to be one of the key factors to watch as we move forward further on down the Scarlet and Violet life cycle to see where this card ends up in the long run. But Paldean Fates has got a strong set. It's got some awesome cards, and spoiler alert, this is not the last card from Paldean Fates you're going to see on this video. Coming in at number 4 right here, the Greninja from Twilight Masquerade. I don't know what to say about this card. I feel like I could do a whole video just on this card, and it's kind of in the back of my mind I might do it, but I don't know. I don't really know what to say. Greninja from Twilight Masquerade. It came out. It's on absolute fire. It's been on this list 2 months in a row. It's number 4 for the card that exchanged hands the most on TCG Player last month, even though it's almost a $300 card from a middle-of-the-era launch Twilight Masquerade set, which means nothing because if you think about it, Evolving Skies, Chilling Reign, like those were kind of middle-of-the-era sets, and obviously Evolving Skies is what it is, and Chilling Reign's a fantastic set, so that doesn't mean anything about when it launched, but I don't know. It's just interesting to me. I'm fascinated to see what these other awesome sets that we have coming up in Scarlet and Violet are going to look like. We got a Pikachu set coming up. We got a Team Rocket set that's coming up. You know, we've got Paradise Dragona coming up. You know, I just think there's a whole lot of awesome sets. So is this going to be the big chase card from the Scarlet and Violet era? Who knows? But I do think it's gotten to $300 really, really fast. And that's it. That's all I can say about this card. It's kind of an anomaly in my space. But again, on here 2 months in a row, and this is why we go by data and not by thoughts and feelings, because data, data doesn't lie. It's black and white. So next card on the list right here. Number 3 is the Charizard EX from 151, and this is a card, again, it has been able to hold that $100 price point really over the last year. I mean, yes, it spent a lot of time in the 105. It had a small blip up to 120. It does have that bowl where it dropped really down, and it does look like it's depreciating a little bit in price from that 105 down to $99 mark. But we will have to see how this, how this is able to hold on. Obviously, there's going to be what I hear of as a restock in Scarlet and Violet 151. There's going to be booster bundles and there's going to be tins. I don't know if it's going to be expanded beyond that. That's all I heard of so far. And to me, that doesn't feel like too aggressive of a restock or reprint or whatever you want to call it. But another card that really has been kind of the gold standard here in the Scarlet and Violet era, right? Matter of fact, all of 151 has been. It's just been incredible to watch. It's been on here 2 months in a row. And now if you look on the left-hand side right there, again, talking about the sealed product, that is the Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box. And you'll see that, hey, listen, it was in the $80 range for a lot of time, and then all of a sudden it started to catch some traction. Now it's all the way up to $130. Now, if there is not a Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box in this restock or reprint, if we never see a restock of it, I think those Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes are going to be some of the ultimate investment buy and holds from the whole Scarlet and Violet era. So we'll have to see what happens. If anybody can print it into oblivion, we all know the Pokemon Company can, so that is yet to be determined, but really excited to see this card coming in at number 3, and I'm really interested to see how this card performs here into the future. Coming in at number 2, I told you you'd see another Paldean Fates card on here. The Bubble Mew has just been so much fun to watch. I was on the fence with the artwork, but obviously everybody out there absolutely loves it. It's been on this list 3 months in a row. It is number 2 last month. It is number 2 this month, just selling at an absolute incredible tick. People love the card. People love the art. I think it's super cute. And the price has been, you know, again, another example where we've just seen this price over the last 6 months really hovering in the same kind of range. So you'll see it's 75 is kind of the low. You'll see 90 is the high. It's at 83 right now, which is right in the middle. So again, a card that it ebbs and flows. It goes up and down like all investments do. Nothing's ever an upward in the right trajectory, and it's still incredibly early in the Paldean Fates life. Like Paldean Fates is still a super new set in the Scarlet and Violet era. We'll have to see if there's going to be a restock or a reprint further down the road like we've seen with 151. There's going to be lots of this product to be open. So is it going to be able to hold on to the price? I don't know, but it is awesome to see that this card has been on here 3 months in a row. This month it's as high as number 2, and again, it's being able to hold that price. So really fascinating takeaways from everything in the Paldean Fate set as of right now. Coming in at number 1, another Twilight Masquerade card, and that is this Eevee. This Eevee card, it's really adorable. It is a cool card. I like the price point on it. Again, I think it's too early to be buying singles in Twilight Masquerade. However, in Scarlet and Violet, we have seen things perform fundamentally different than we're used to seeing, right? If you'd asked me in the Sword and Shield era, I wouldn't buy any singles cards until they're at the 12 or 18 month mark because I want to have more of them opened. I want to have more of them hit the market. But at least in the short run, we have seen some of these Twilight Masquerade cards take off after launch, and they have not looked back. They have just been performing really well. We already talked about the Magikarp. Obviously, we talked about the Greninja. Now we got the Eevee on here. We've just seen a bunch of different examples. So who knows what's going to happen with this? All I know is this card hit the market and it just blew out all expectations. I remember when this was a $30 card, and now it is selling for $55.69. It is the number 1 card that exchanged hands the most on TCG Player last month. Twilight Masquerade has come out absolutely crazy. There's all kinds of awesome cards on there. There's all kinds of excitement around this set. Even the booster box is up to $120 right out the gate already, so I don't know what's going to happen, but it is exciting to see a set that has this much of market excitement around it, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it performs in the long run. So listen, this is a long video. We talk about 10 awesome cards. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you made it to the end, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, and if your questions or comments, drop them down below. I appreciate you more than I can say. I hope you have an epic one, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye.